taking time out of your day to come and listen to our presentation about our amazing experience at Open Avenues. I'm Molly Thompson.
I'm Jenna Bertuca.
I'm Lauren Patrick.
I'm Jamie Rico. I'm Faye.
I'm Noah Kinder. Okay, so we kind of set like rules and examples for ourselves that are coded off of cooperation. First one is communication is key. And then be nice to everyone because we don't want to do it because we're representing their business. We were representing their business and we didn't want to like be rude and like give the business a bad rap. Then the next one was share our workload. We obviously wanted everybody to do even work. And then be on time. We need to be on time every day. We set like different time schedules every day, like when we come in and do stuff. And then manage our time wisely. We only had like a certain amount of time each day. I think it was open from 9 to 3, and we usually got it at 3. Dress nicely. We always dress really nice every day because we were a business and we didn't want to look sloppy. Be professional, obviously. We're seniors in high school, we should be able to be professional. And then represent Rogers High School and Open Avenues well. Okay, so this is our Gantt chart. It's kind of like a timeline for our day. So on Monday, we really just did training and we met our host, which is Jeff. And then Tuesday, we toured the site, we did brainstorming, called businesses, and met with businesses. Wednesday, we called businesses again and then met with businesses again. Thursday, the same thing, and then we started with our presentation. And then Monday, which is today, we start to present.
So the vision for Open Avenues is to open avenues of opportunity for people with disabilities by facilitating personal growth and attainment of vocational goals. Their vision is for all people with disabilities to be respected for their unique contributions to the community. Our vision was to help find job opportunities and job shadowing for disabled individuals at Open Avenues. And our vision was for every individual to be employed no matter the circumstance. And we will show you guys a video of Open Avenues.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your support. I love it here at Open Avenues.
I'm so proud of my work. Thank you for helping me believe in myself. Thank you.
Hey, yo.
Thanks Open Avenues for my independence. Gracias. You make me proud of myself.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for my independence.
I believe in myself and I love my job. I'm proud of my work. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we were given a problem at Open Avenues, and the current problem at Open Avenues was most businesses weren't willing to hire disabled individuals or even let them job shadow or anything like that. So the impact was disabled people are not, okay, so they can't find jobs. And the desire was to help them find jobs or job shadowing opportunities in businesses, local businesses like Rogers and Benville.
Okay, so we got to hear some success stories that made us excited to find more job opportunities for these people. And the first person that we want to talk about is Jose, and this is someone that Open Avenues has helped him. They helped him find a job in the McDonald's on what Mr. Jeff calls Restaurant Road, on the border of Rogers and Bentonville, and he works there from 11 to 2, so you should all go get to know him sometime. And we were interviewing him, and he is so sweet. He was talking about how he loves his job and how he wouldn't leave there for anything, and how he loves the people. And while we were interviewing him, I asked him, how do you think you benefit this company most? And a customer actually came up and said, can I tell you how Jose benefits the company? And he said that Jose is the most down-to-earth and kind-hearted person, and that he owns his own private business, and that he would hire him in a heartbeat. And so it was really cool that this customer came up and started talking about Jose. And Jose is so humble, and he just talked about how kind the other people are rather than how he benefits. And so then we talked to one of the other employees, and she said that he's very hardworking, and the only trouble they have is that he does jobs that he isn't supposed to do. She said that earlier that day they found him climbing on the drink counter trying to wash the refreshment sign. And but she said other than that, he's a great worker. And then I also had a meeting with the Gordman's manager on the phone, and he said that last Christmas they had someone named Steven who worked in the unloading boxes in the back, and they said that he was extremely hardworking, and that the only problem they had was that they wanted someone in the back with him, just in case he needed other help, and that was only a seasonal job, but they said that they did his job great. So these are just some examples of why it encouraged us to find other people jobs, because they're extremely capable.
So the operational definitions are basically like certain words that go along with this job that a normal person might not know. So IWD is just a person, an individual with a disability, and a disability can range from like someone that you would think is completely normal to someone that's completely like nonverbal. And then a job coach is someone that you would, like if you hired someone with a disability, they would go with them and stay there for like, it depends on what time, but like for sure 2 weeks, and you would just like make sure that they know exactly how to do their job and perfect it for them, and like they don't necessarily say like no, don't do that, but just show them exactly like how they need to do it and fix it for them if they do it wrong. And a job shadow is like just a person, like you go and follow a person who does work there so that you can see kind of like how it goes and what you would be doing. And then an HR is a human resource, and those are the people that we had to contact so that we could say like, would you be willing to hire someone, or would you allow them to job shadow? And they're just the people that like hire and give them salaries and stuff.
Okay, so this is a bone diagram, and basically what it's showing is, if you look at the bottom left, it's what we have right now, which is they have employment at Open Avenues, but they want to find other jobs. And then what we want to get to at the very top right is employment. And so in order to do this, if you look at the top left, then you say the positives of finding them jobs. And that can include them actually having a steady income rather than a piece income, which is how much they do is how much they get. And you can also provide them with the insurance benefits that the company could potentially give them, and also they would be a part of society rather than around disabled people all the time. They could get out in the actual society and perform like a regular person, because that's all they want to be known as. But then the negatives that they could potentially have is you might find them the wrong job, and then they get really stressed out and they can't perform it as well as they could a different job. So you have to go based on the individual, and that's one of the hardest things that you can do for a disabled person. you also could potentially get injured because sometimes a disability can be harmful to certain work environments, because if you're in a wheelchair or something and you have to reach high places, then it could be unsafe if you try to potentially want to do that, and then that person in the wheelchair could injure themselves, if not other people. So it's the negatives to finding them a job. There are negatives despite wanting to find them a job.
Okay, so when we first got to Open Avenues, Jeff set us up in this nice conference room, and we got a big board, and so we just separated them up like what jobs we could put into 3 categories, which were services, merchandise, and manufacturing. So we just started like writing a ton of them down in which category they would go into, and then there's 6 of us, so we broke into 3 groups and with 2, and we just like went and took like whichever, like me and Molly did services, and so we went to all the service stores and just talked to them and stuff, and then we started then we just started crossing them off, and like if they said no, we would just take them off the list. Okay, and
So throughout those days, after many phone calls and many meetings, we came to the conclusion about which businesses would be hiring IWDs and allowing them to job shadow, and so we separated them into categories. And so this is the final list. So as you can see, we started off with a really long, big elaborate list, and this is all we ended up with at the end. And we have a mixture of services and manufacturing and retail on there. So there's a variety of jobs.
So one of the last places that me and Faith went to was Northwest Hospital in Bentonville. And we were first greeted at the door, and the people were immediately like, how can we help you? Where can we take you? And we were walked to the human resources, and the lady was like, well, we don't actually handle the janitorial services because we were trying to find someone from Open Avenues, that kind of job. But then they took us to the manager, and he was so welcoming, and when we got there was actually already a disabled person working there, and so it was kind of cool to see how he was working. And you could just tell the way, like in his eyes, he loved his job, and he was so excited to help others. So we sat down with a man named Paul, and Paul explained to us how in his previous job in Tennessee, he had worked with a company like Open Avenues, and they did job shadowing and they provided careers, and he was really open to the idea of doing something like that again.
okay, so me and Molly went to lunch to Slim's on Tuesday, I believe, and we were just sitting there waiting for our food, and we saw like a disabled person start taking out the trash, and then the manager goes, no, Larry, not today, it's full. And then we were like, oh, so they like hire disabled people. So we went back and called them, and they were like, yes, we wish we had 6 more Larrys. And they were like bringing people in from an agency like Open Avenues. We're like, would you be not willing, open to hiring a person with disabilities again? They're like, yes, please send them all to us.
So I called the Rogers Public Library, and they actually are doing a senior project right now too, and so that was kind of funny, and we talked about that a little bit. And the Rogers Public Library, actually, Robert is his name and who I met with, he had a meeting with me, and I called him and he said, yeah, I would be open to maybe having people job shadow at the Rogers Public Library. And after 30 minutes of talking with me, I ended up convincing him to let people job shadow and him to hire some of them. So he basically gave me a list of different job properties that they have to have and different qualities that they would need to be able to do, and their disability level would depend on that. And he's like, but yes, that would be so open to doing that, because he actually thought that when I talked about a disabled person, he just thought that they couldn't do anything. So when I actually talked to him about, you can have very strong conversations with these people and understand what they are doing, and if you teach them one certain job, then they understand how to do it forever, and they can do it perfectly all the time. And so they just have to understand that people with disabilities does not mean that they're incapable of doing jobs that are simple. Okay, I actually know multiple people at Tyson, and so talking to them was really easy for me. And one of the managers gave me a reference to another person, and I talked to that person, and he said he is so willing to work with them, and he has made multiple accommodations for people with disabilities, and he would love to do it again because he also believes, just as all of us have learned, disabled people love their job and they appreciate it more than anybody else. They take their job 100% all the time. They will do everything they can in their power to make sure their job gets done and it gets done right. And they love it too. They wake up in the morning and they're excited to be there. They're not waking up and being like, well, gotta go to work today. And so Tyson Foods loves actually working with disabled people and companies like Open Avenues because they love the people. They're a people company, and they like the people interacting and how they approach disabled individuals. And okay, so JB Hunt is very interesting because I had a phone call with them to set up a meeting, and the person I was talking to, an HR representative, and I ended up talking to her, and she said, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I would love to do something like this. We were so open to this," and everything like that. And she was really excited and open to it, and she said that she would call me back and she would talk to the hiring agencies and everything over there because it was a different phone number, and she said she could handle it. So I gave her all my information, and she never ended up calling me back. So I ended up calling him again, and a different person answered the phone and said, "Yeah, I don't know who you were talking to, but I'm pretty sure she's new or something because we don't do stuff like that." And so I was like, well, okay. And I ended up talking to them for about 15 minutes about how good an impact this would be and how it could benefit them while it's benefiting Open Avenues. And so we just had a conversation, and so she ended up giving me more information about jobs that they could potentially hire for, and she gave my information to the hiring agency right then and there, and the hiring agency got back to me and said, "Yeah, we're totally open to doing that. You just have to make sure that their disability would not be harmful to them or other people, such as the bone diagram before. We have to make sure that they're capable of doing it and that their disability does not hinder them from doing jobs that we have." So, yeah. Okay, and also Golden Corral and Cabela's. Golden Corral or Cabela's, they're companies in Rogers, and both of them said the same thing to me, almost word for word, that they do not discriminate against people with disabilities, which is a perfectly good statement, but then I was like, well, why don't we see more of them, and everything like that. And they told me, they were just like, yes, we don't have an HR or anything like that, but as long as they fill out an application, we will definitely get back to them. We will not ignore them and try to avoid them because of their disability. We will make sure that they can work. That's the only requirement that they have is, can you work, will you work, are you good at your job? That's Cabela's and Golden Corral's #1 thing. And so if Open Avenues is willing to put some people at Golden Corral and Cabela's, they would just have to fill out the job application and have an interview with them rather than going through everything. And they also said that it would be perfectly fine if we did have to make accommodations, because they said, once again, they love seeing a disabled person because they love their job. And you don't get anyone else's spirit like they have it.
So later on, Jen and I went to the Home Depot and Lowe's, and at the Home Depot in Rogers, the HR representative was very willing and very open to talk with us about the opportunity that they could give to people at Open Avenues. And they said they were more than willing to hire people from the agency because they have had a person who is disabled work for them and with them, and they were always very hardworking. They were always, open to the idea of being moved around, and so very hardworking and always eager to do something for the company. And I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, it's hard for them to enjoy their job, and especially at a store like the Home Depot, just turning around items so that the label's spacing out. It gets really repetitive and boring, but for people with disabilities, we met some people who were perfectionists, and they enjoyed having things a certain way, organized a specific way. And so we talked to her about that, and she said she'd be more than willing to hire someone from there. And she said about this job shadowing that it was a maybe because they had to pass that through corporate. And almost the same thing happened with Lowe's. They were both very willing to answer our questions and to ask questions to us about open avenues. And they also said that they had a loader who was deaf, but he was one of like the hardest workers that they've had, and that they want more people like that who are eager to work and eager to do stuff for the store.
We also had an in-store meeting with Lifeway, and they gave us specific jobs that they would allow people to job shadow, as well as Gordon's, which we called on the phone. They're listed in the papers, and Lifeway was super eager to allow people to job shadow, and as well as Gordon's. They both said that they aren't hiring right now, but if a job opened up, that they would hire. And then Target, they are more than willing to hire. And the problem with job shadowing in bigger companies is that it has to go through corporate, because it's like making someone work without paying them. And so that's the only really big struggle we found with the job shadowing.
Okay, so with this experience, we had so many great experiences, but of course people were gonna have to say no. And so our first stop actually was at the Walmart Museum in the Bentonville Square. And so we're greeted at the door by this guy named Craig. And Craig is so nice, and at first I'm like, hi, I just need to talk to someone about hiring and HR. And he at first offers me an application. And I was like, oh no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm working with Open Avenues for my senior project, and we're looking for finding people with disabilities jobs. And he sat us down and had this like 20-minute conversation about us, how amazing that is, and how he would love to help us, but at the time he wasn't hiring. And so in the back of my mind, I was like, then why did he hand me an application? And so, and then he was just like throwing out other companies that we could go to, but like putting it off and being really wishy-washy with his answer. And so by the end of it, he told us, yes, I would love to, but we're not hiring. And so we shook his hand and walked out. And then as I'm closing the door behind me, I see a big now hiring sign on the front window and the door. And it was just kind of like, I wanted to go back and be like, excuse me, then why is this sign here? But, you know, we're representing Open Avenue, so we had to be respectful. But it was just like, it's just kind of like an eye-opening experience that they don't even understand how capable these people are. Like going into it, I was like, oh, they're probably just like putting things in boxes. No, like there are people there who are like designing computer programs, like for the police department, all the way from like doing ammunition for days. Like it is insane what these people do. And like everyone has said, they're crazy about their job and they love what they do.
I called the Goodwill in Rogers while Jamie was calling the Goodwill in Bentonville at the same time. And the Goodwill in Rogers, the manager said, I'm too busy to talk about this, and we're not interested. And she basically told me to call the Bentonville location. Well, as I hung up, the Bentonville location was telling Jamie to call the Rogers location because they have a career center. So that was one of our negative responses.
Okay, I had Bentonville Plastics, and I was greeted on the phone by a really nice person, and he was redirecting me to someone I should actually talk to about this. And then, before I could even really go into detail about what Open Avenues was, I was treated extremely rude, and then they ended up just hanging up the phone as I was saying thank you for your time. And she, like, I didn't even get to finish talking when she was like, yeah, no. And then hung up the phone, and I was like, well, that's a no to that. And that was probably the worst experience, just because she didn't even want to hear me out upon that.
Okay, so now we get to talk about our experiences. So I've grown up working with people with special needs since first grade, and it's always been my passion. And so I like begged to go to this place. I wrote down on the paper, I was like, I need to go to Open Avenues. And so I was really excited to go here, but I noticed like the discrimination that they have in daily life, but it never was as real that it's so difficult for them to find a job. And when they talk about how capable they are, these people do jobs that I wouldn't even want to do. And they were like putting together these computer sets and like stuff that some people can't even do. And so it just opened my eyes to how much the discrimination is against them, and we met some wonderful people, such as Tom, right there in the left bottom corner, and he remembered my name. We met him on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I came in and he said, "Jenna, how are you?" And they're just passionate about each other and about getting to meet other people.
Okay, so when I first heard about Open Avenues, I had no idea what it was. I was like, what is this place? And you know, my mother and I, we drive by there all the time. I always see it. I always wondered, what is it? But I never was like, you know, I'm gonna walk in and see what they're about until senior projects came up. And I had listened to him talk about it, and he was just, so excited and so eager for us to do this project, and it was contagious. I was like, I really, really want to do this now. And it got me even more excited, and when we showed up, we were so welcomed. It was like a home. Like, they make a family there, and that's really nice that they make everyone feel so welcome, even if they're outsiders. And they had these dogs running around, and I was like, this is heaven. Like, it was the best thing ever, and I love dogs. And we met really amazing people, and it really touched me because there are people at our church who are disabled, and people don't take the time to understand them and get to know them and know what they're like before putting forth an opinion about them and before judging them or saying something about them. And yeah, there's Tom again, and Mackenzie, right? Yeah, and they're all so sweet. And there's Chuck he was eating soup. Chuck works with, yeah, he actually works there. But I thought the picture was really cool. He works with he has his own little department when they're working, and there's this guy named Paul who's autistic, and he's the only guy who can really calm him down besides Jeff. And I think it's really cool that they all build relationships with each other. They all get to know each other. They all know each other's names. And whenever they're freaking out or something, they're like, oh, it's just their disability. They're like, it's okay. We all have them. I was like, yeah, they all understand each other. And it was an amazing experience to get to know everyone and be at Open Avenues.
Okay, so while I was at Open Avenues, I knew vaguely what it was. I knew that they worked with disabled individuals, but I didn't know exactly what they did. And when I went there, because I requested to work at Open Avenues too, and because in the future I want to work with disabled people, and I want to help them, mainly autistic people, but just disabilities of all kinds. And while I was there, I realized how much discrimination they actually go through, and how much they still care about every single person. They will never be mean to you, or on purpose, I should say. I mean, they sometimes don't know that they're being mean, though. That's one of their interesting factors about them. But they always seem to be happy. They always have a smile on their face, unless it's Mary Lou, and then you take a picture with her and she smiles, and Jeff says that, good job for me. So, I just loved working with them because they're all really happy and they all love their job so much, and I've never met more excited people about just every day and living. They will make you happier. They want to know about you. They don't want to know about hey, how was your day? They want to know who you are. They want to get to know you right then and there. They'll have conversations with you, and even if they know that it's a little hard for them to understand you or you to understand them, they don't care. They'll still talk to you for hours and hours. And then the thing is, they have this bell, and it's so interesting to just watch them. They all, as soon as they hear it, they all get up and all of them run back to work, and they're so excited to go back to work because they want to do as much as they can because they are paid by a piece-wise type of thing. And so there are some of them that just will work up until the bell. Then when the bell is, they'll just be this fun people. And then when the bell rings again, they're like, I gotta go back to work right now. And so it's really funny to watch them, and it was an enlightening experience just because they're very humbling people, and they just make you so happy for what you were blessed with, but then they're just happy on a daily basis, and it makes you appreciate everything so much more.
Okay, so working with Open Avenues the past week has been very eye-opening. So like Jamie said, I vaguely knew what it was, But like once I figured it out and stuff, I was super excited, but I didn't really know what to expect, especially because I've never been around disabled people like really in my life. But whenever we got there, Jeff took us on a tour in like the workplace and stuff whenever they got there, and they were just so happy. Like right when we walked in, Molly got pulled over and stuff, and like you could just tell like they wanted to talk to us. They were like, "Hi, how are you? Like, how's your morning and stuff?" And they were just so happy to be there. And like it made me feel bad because I was like, I hate my job, like I dread going there and stuff. And I was like, I should be like them and be so happy. And they're just like, and they would just start laughing and stuff. Like me and Molly were talking to someone, they were like sad, like talking about how their dad died and stuff. And we're like, oh no. And he's like, ha ha ha, you made me laugh. And like we weren't even doing anything. It's just like they just started randomly laughing. And they're just so happy all the time. And like it broke our heart to say goodbye and stuff. And I'm gonna cry. Okay, so, shoot. Hold on. Okay, so then, I even like, okay, hold on.
Okay, so I've had a lot of experience working with special needs people too. I've been a teacher aide for the special needs class before, and I've already known how humbling of an experience it is. But going to Open Avenues and seeing adults in their environment is absolutely amazing. So every day we would walk into Open Avenues, and there would always be someone there greeting at the door, whether it was Miss Runion's dog, Sapphire, or Starfire, whatever her name is, or if it was Sherry telling me every day, we're matching boots. She would always ask me to wear those little suede boots because she had the same ones, and she was so excited to have the same boots as me. And all of them were just so talented in different ways. Like Charlie always had the most beautiful smile on his face and was always just ready to show his love and compassion to people. And Jody he was a quiet one at first. He didn't really open up to us until his birthday when we gave him all the attention, and he was like, okay, I like this, like I want some more. And he was just so sweet. And Mackenzie, she isn't actually in the main workroom. She is in a different room, kind of like a classroom setting, learning everyday skills just to prepare her for outside and like living by herself and that kind of stuff. And like Faith was saying, the goodbye for me was the hardest part. Everyone was leaving or whatever, and I walked out for their final bell, and they all just surrounded me and were hugging me, and they were like, please don't leave, Molly, don't forget about me. And I just like broke down, like cried the whole way home to Rogers from the highway, and was just like, because we learned a lot from them, and it was just so amazing to think that like how they would tell me like thank you so much, and I was like at the end I was like thank you, because we were impacted by them and everything that they did, and they made me look at someone with a disability in a different way and to never doubt their abilities and what they do.
All right, so honestly, I was a little late to the senior project train, so I just took what I could get. But honestly, Open Avenues was a great experience. I'm kind of shy, so when I heard that I was working with disabled people, I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. But honestly, they taught me a lot. Like, they taught me to get out of my shell while I was teaching them to get out of their shell, and it was just a really great experience for me. I made a lot of friends, and I actually met some people that I already knew. The one on the left is Michael. He used to go to high school with me. I was a freshman when he was a senior, and we were in choir together. And we used to sing all the time together. And he was telling me that he has a YouTube channel, and he wanted me to look up his music. And he was giving me all these song suggestions and all this stuff, and it was a lot of fun.
We want to thank everyone for this wonderful opportunity that we got to have, starting with Coach Roller and all of Rogers High. We're the only school that does this, and so that was exciting. And then Mr. Jeff and all of the Open Avenue staff, we obviously couldn't have done it without you guys, but we thank you for all the help. And then the amazing clients that stole all of our hearts, and the companies, which are all right here, that were willing to hire people with disabilities. And then teachers, we're sorry we missed a week of class, but we appreciate you guys allowing us to do this. And for one last, this is Gilbert. He does this amazing train sound, and you know, Rogers Mountie, go big blue train. So here's a video to end. Yeah, so that was exciting. Thank you all so much.